Live, Laugh, Larceny discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or could be easy listening to all you psychopaths out there.
All stories are based on actual events, but details may vary.
Listener discretion is not advised.
Live,
Laugh.
Larceny. Welcome to Live, Laugh, Larceny, the last time you are assless chaps in public. This is Trevin.
And I'm Amanda. That is a bold move.
I would never, but it sounds like a fun thing to do.
So, Trevin.
Yes.
What is your dreadful dilemma this week?
My dreadful dilemma just happened a couple days ago.
Oh, man.
I know that you're aware of this because I saw that you had sent my fair lady a message.
Oh, God. Yes.
But Emily went and took boudoir photos.
Oh, that. Okay. I thought you were talking about something else.
No. So for anybody who doesn't know this about me, I absolutely love boudoir.
Yeah.
It was when you and I were working together on the first show and you were doing like a body positivity episode and I had started researching boudoir stuff and I just fell in love.
Yeah.
I love the art of nude stuff like that. And I fell in love with this local woman here in Kansas City called Illuminated Palette.
Yes.
And I'm manifesting it. Her and I are going to be best friends. She just hasn't really quite figured it out yet.
Mm-hmm.
So Emily had signed up to do a little boudoir thing for our wedding coming up. We had this conversation. She said, I have to come in there for like an hour or whatever. We do makeup and all that stuff. And then the next whatever is the shoot time.
Mm-hmm.
She's telling me about what they have to do with the face and everything.
What they have to do with the face.
With the face. And then I told her, I said, well, if they're going to put makeup on your face, they're going to also put makeup on your butt. And she said it's boudoir, not buttwar. And I thought, well, have you ever seen a boudoir photo before? Because they like to do a lot of butt stuff.
Right. Exactly.
I had never thought of this before, but it's obvious. They must put makeup on your butt, right? They got to get it good for the lighting and everything, and they want to accentuate the tush.
Uh-huh.
And she said, no, they're not going to do that. And I said, I guarantee it. And I was like putting my foot down.
Did they do it?
So she went and did her boudoir photos and came back. She's telling me about how good she felt and how easy it was and she got used to it. And I'm like, wait, did they make up the butt? That's all I need to know. Your personal growth aside, did they put makeup on the butt?
Am I right or not, damn it?
And she said, no.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, Trevin, but that doesn't really sound like something that goes on. I will say, you always make a good point and you're good with your words, but I can see that. I can see that someone would have a little bit of a contour under the butt cheek just to cause a little depth and a little highlight, maybe just on the top center of each cheek.
I said, rosy up the cheeks a little bit.
Yeah, rosy them up. Yeah.
I told her, I said, you're going to be in there and you're going to be like that Winnie the Pooh cartoon when Rabbit draws the face on Winnie the Pooh's butt and decorates him.
I will say, though, although I haven't heard of a professional tush makeup artist, let's say, there is body makeup that a lot of people use. And also, I did see this on Vanderpump Rules. I'm sorry.
Jesus.
But the two of the girls went and got a facial, but it was for their butt. I can't remember what they called it. A
butt-shul?
Butt-shul? No, they had something else. I'm going to have to look up the name, but yeah, you can get a facial for your butt. They had steamers going and everything. It was a whole production.
I think she had said they did some sort of something on her chest or something, maybe, but that was it. No butt.
I like that, though. Hey, if anyone needs a professional tush makeup job, I'd take a whack at it.
Yeah, I'll take a whack at that, Tish.
Well, I also have a dreadful dilemma.
Tell me all about it.
So as I was talking with you before recording, I just have a list that keeps going with these dilemmas that I keep thinking I'm going to go with one, and then another more recent one comes and just takes over. So that's what's happened again this week. And what happened occurred last night. So, to everyone who doesn't live in the Midwest like Trevin and I do, we've been having really weird weather where I like to say it's like the hottest of hot days. And then we'll randomly have these weird windstorms with rain and tree limbs everywhere.
Yeah, and it's humid as hell.
Yeah,
You're swimming.
It's like we're by an ocean. It's so humid and muggy, but we're freaking not. So like, why are we getting that negative? Anyway, because of this, we had a gigantic tree on top of our electrical line. It was dangling. It was hanging on by a tiny little fiber, I shit you not. And it was like smushing our line. And so I called the people. I was like, hey, come help. And they were like, how serious is this? Do you still have power? And I basically told her, yeah, but it's smush. So like, please come quickly. They didn't come for days. Okay. They came last night and it was late at night when they got there. Like one of my kids was already asleep and they stayed up through the darkness, set up spotlights out in the backyard and everything because it was dark. But before that happens, I'm speaking to the guy. I had just gotten home from doing a photo shoot with our friends.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan was with the girls. One of them was already asleep. I was getting home. Right when I pulled in, the guys that were coming to fix the tree were there. And he's like, hey, we're going to be moving this. I'm actually surprised nothing crazy has happened. This is really wild that it hasn't done some damage. But just so you know, we're going to have to turn your power off temporarily and then it'll come right back on. And I was like, no problem. So I go in. I do the whole bedtime routine. I'm thinking, okay, the lights will probably go on and off during this time. They didn't. I put my other kiddo to bed. Jordan's asleep. A lot of time has passed at this point, okay? I'm noticing that there's leftovers on the table. It's Chinese food. I'm so ready. I know. I shouldn't even say that around you.
I'm triggered.
I know. It was Chinese food. It was all laid out. I put it on a plate. I go to put it in the microwave. Shut the door. Immediately, the power went out. Immediately. Like all this time goes. And yes, did I know that there was a possibility? Of course I knew. But the very moment that I pushed the door shut, I just had to laugh. So then I just ate the cold Chinese food.
There we go.
I went on, but it was pretty dreadful, the timing.
I've found that Chinese is still good cold. I've done it. I've had no problems.
You know what? I handled it just fine. And they had chainsaws going all throughout the night. Finally got it down and neither child woke up. So that's a pro.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. I mean, power and children staying asleep.
Yes. So, Trevin.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing some killer facts today.
Hello?
We've traced the facts. They're coming from inside the house.
Killer facts.
We is. And it's my week to go first. I want to tell you about castrati. Are you familiar with these young gentlemen?
I don't think so.
And I'm coming from All That's Interesting. I've been wanting to cover this for a long time, and then they had an article, and I thought, why not? I just love these people.
I love them.
I hope I'm saying it right. Castrati. They were Italian boys starting in the 16th century who were castrated at a young age to always keep their boyish singing voice.
Oh my God. Wait, where?
It was 16th century Italy.
Okay. Whew. Wow, no, I have never heard of this before.
So it said that it lasted from the 16th century all the way up until the 19th century.
That's a long time.
Yeah, so in the 16th century, the Vatican banned women from church choirs. So they still needed to have the beautiful high-pitched voices. So they had young boys do it. It had to be all men choirs. So of course you want to have somebody that sounds like a woman, get a little boy. So what they started doing was when boys were really great singers, they would just castrate them and try to like freeze their voice in time where it's at.
Oh my God, did they really need the high pitches that badly?
I suppose so. But what ended up happening was some kids would get very well known for being great castrati singers. So other parents would want to castrate their kids to give them a chance at the fame of being a great castrati singer. In 1589, the Vatican decreed that they could replace women on the choirs with the castrati boys. By the dawn of the 18th century, some 4,000 Italian boys were being castrated per year in order to become singers. But since castration was technically illegal, their families had to take their sons to backstreet barbers or surgeons to have the procedures done. There, the boys were subjected to a painful operation without anesthesia, and they said an estimated 20% would die.
What?
And the crazy thing is, some parents just kind of looked at their kid as a meal ticket. Oh, my kid has a chance of being the best castrati. And so they're going out and just taking that sacrifice, hoping the kid will do something for them. It's awful.
So is that really a thing? Does that really make a male's voice high forever? And why? So many no's in this.
Yes, to answer your question, castrati were extremely popular singers in Europe. The practices of castrating young male singers was restricted to Italy, but what they would do, if they got caught or something, they would just say, oh, the kid fell off a horse or something. They would come up with these ridiculous stories. So they traveled across the continent, often earning huge fees for their operatic appearances. But along with this, there were a lot of bad health side effects that came to it. So castration at a young age didn't just give castrati beautiful voices. It also gave them a number of health problems that lingered throughout life. As Gizmodo writes, many castrati were remarkably tall because their lack of hormones often meant that their growth plates never closed. This resulted in unusually long bones and could cause extra stress on their organs, as well as conditions like osteoporosis later in life.
Whoa.
Other part of the castrato's body could also grow to be larger than normal, including their chest, jaw, and nose. This was actually useful as a large rib cage could help the singers with their breath capacity. So in a sense, that also helped them there too. But many castrati didn't age well. According to Slate, one observer remarked, most of the castrati become as big and fat as capones, and round and chubby hips, rumps, arms, and throats. That's a quote. When they exhumed one of the more famous castrati singers, his name is Farinelli, in 2006, researchers found that he had long bones and a buildup of bones on his forehead. This is a condition called hyperostosis frontalis eterna, which usually impacts women and can cause headaches, depression, and other mental issues. Many castrati suffered from depression as they got older as well.
Wow. Not to mention they can never have kids.
Right.
You're just taking that away at a young age before they even know what that even means.
Yeah, it's cruel and messed up.
What's crazy to me is that even back then they were like, yep, we'll go through this just so we can't have women on the choir. It's like, guys, really, you don't have to do this.
And that's really interesting too, because obviously, you know, the men don't want to let the women do it. So it's like a masculine sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then you're castrating your boys to be like, doesn't that sound counterproductive? Because then you want your boys to be manly too. And unless you think, I don't know, to me, the way I've been raised and the way I've known the phrase castration, that doesn't come with being the quote unquote masculine man. So
that's wild.
For the men to sacrifice that of their sons to make up for not letting women enjoy it too is very weird.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, and I'm very glad that they decided to change their ways.
Me too. Do you want to hear one?
Oh, sure. You have an audio?
I've got audio.
Okay.
We're going to do Ave Maria, performed by Alessandro Moreschi.
Okay, let's hear it. And this is an adult?
This is an adult man.
Wow. Great voice. The role definitely could have just gone to a gal, though, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And he was doing like an opera performance later, because the more famous ones, after they got out of the boys' choir, then they just became opera singers.
Oh, okay.
So that's like what he was. So he was known as still having the castrati voice, but he no longer sang in the choir. He was like a lead singer, you know?
Wow. At least that's good for them to have something after all of that, you know?
Yeah. Like they said, they were in high demand. But then also that just probably took more jobs from women as well, as they found ways to make it work for themselves in the future.
Right.
I'm sure they honestly probably didn't care.
Probably not, unfortunately. Well, I also have a killer fact. So, Trevin, have you heard much about a man named Gerald or Jerry Cotton? He was the CEO of a Canadian cryptocurrency exchange.
No, I really don't know that much about crypto, and I've never heard of that name, Jerry Cotton.
Okay, so I know so little about crypto itself, but let me tell you, Trevin, there are a ton of bizarre, crazy out there stories, like true crime stories up the wazoo, as they say, for these guys involved in crypto. It's crazy. Anyway, I recently have been obsessed with this mysterious death, and so I kind of just wanted to talk about it on the show. And also, you guys, there's so much to this. I'm obviously not going to go in huge depth, but I will say it was the multi-part series on Netflix, and it was the one episode on HBO. So definitely check those out, because I did.
Trust No One, The Hunt for the Crypto King.
Yes, that's the one. So good. And that's Netflix, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys kind of the dumbed down version of the timeline of this guy and how his whole mysterious death kind of happened. So it was March 18th, 2016, when he assumed full control over the company, and the name of the company is Quadriga CX. That summer of 2017, they conducted more than $1.2 billion in trades. So that's just to show you kind of where this company was working. It wasn't a little startup, okay? When he took over, this was a big deal.
Wheelin' and dealin'.
Yes. Now, January 8th of 2018... $26 million in accounts used in his exchange were frozen, and people were no longer able to get their money. Okay, which that's a lot of money. 26 mil? I would be freaking out over a lot less. Now, what's really weird, and this kind of adds to the mystery, is that around this very time is when he gets married to a woman named Jennifer Robertson. And they are traveling a lot. They are living large. They're going to all these different exotic places. They're taking their private planes. They're doing it all. Okay.
Sounds cool.
Yes. Now, another weird part of this whole thing, Trevin, they got married pretty quickly into their relationship. I'm not pointing fingers, okay? I'm not pointing a dang finger. I'm just telling you the timeline. But they get married, and then in December that year, the couple had gone on their honeymoon, finally. And apparently about a month before that trip, he had kind of like updated his will, if you will. So he goes on this trip. The honeymoon was kind of a weird choice because it was in India. It was this very remote location. They said that they were going to be building houses and helping, children that don't have homes and all these things. And his friends thought that was a very bizarre choice, that he wasn't really into philanthropic acts or volunteering. So the whole thing was kind of weird, but that's where they did their honeymoon. Now, when they were in India, this man dies. Complications from Crohn's disease at the age of 30, may I add.
Okay.
So this guy is 30 years old, and all these documentaries I've been watching, he's like a little nerdy guy, but he's got a lot of spunk. I mean, he looks healthy as can be. And I'm not an expert on Crohn's disease, but they did have experts on all these shows that I was watching, and a lot of them were just blown away because it's very, very rare for what happened supposedly to him to happen, which is causing a lot of people to think either he is still alive, was he murdered, did he really pass of natural causes? There's so many different theories out there, and for good reason, because Trevin, after he passes away, everything was left to his wife that he married. And then it turns out that no one, absolutely not a single soul, had a digital key to get into his online exchange and give people their money back. So people were losing it, okay? Now, I will say, too, the wife, she also says in an affidavit, I do not have any access to this. And she even said, this is what I do have access to. And she actually did sell a couple of like their yachts or cars or whatever and gave money to help people, but they still will never be able to get that kind of money back.
Right.
At the ending of all of the shows, like I said, everyone is kind of left with a variety of things, right? Because I didn't even get into it with, he is kind of a co-worker, a guy that was like the co-owner that kind of has his own shady deals. So everyone's like, was it him? Was it her? Is he really dead? Is he really alive? And a lot of the guy's friends, when they interview him, they're like, yeah, I could see him being alive somewhere and just taking the money and running. And I guess it's called an exit scam or whatever, where you just kind of fake your own death. And apparently this isn't the first time that this has happened with one of these guys.
Damn.
Where he faked his own death and then was like, here I am, JK. So I don't know. The whole thing is just really bizarre to me. I also wanted to point out, I got a lot of these timeline details from an article on globalnews.ca, and it's the Quadriga CX timeline and the many questions still to be answered. It's a very weird mystery. If anyone is into that kind of thing, a lot of online sleuths are all about it. My mind was just blown.
It sounds very complicated, and honestly, I could see it. At the age of 30, I think more power to you. If you are faking your death, that's awesome.
Yeah, so there's so many different theories, but I don't know. It's just a fascinating thing. You know me, I love a good scam. I love a good story. I will say this too, a lot of people want his body exhumed, and I don't know if they're going to do that or not because they think that it's not his real body that's buried.
I get it.
Yeah. When it's that high of stakes and that many people upset with that much money, I could see them trying to get that figured out.
I mean, it could be a possible crime. I mean, yeah, I think you should.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody else had committed a crime and they needed to get more evidence, they would exhume a body for it. So I don't see why not.
Yeah. We'll see what happens, but there have been a couple different documentaries out there and I've been all into it. I'm not a professional. I just read off a timeline, but it's fascinating. So there you go.
It keeps making me think of Carol Baskin's husband. The whole time you're telling me this story, I was thinking of that.
Oh, Tiger King. My God. That really saved us, though. That show really saved me personally during that time.
Yeah, that's true.
So, Trevin, you know what else could help us? I'll give you a hint. Some ads.
And we're back. And it is my week to go first with stories. And I've got one.
That's great news.
It's a crime, and it has to do with things that I think we all deal with at times. But sometimes not every story is the most exciting. Is that a good way to build people up?
Probably not. But you know what? Anticlimactic behavior is very pro our show.
That's true. So let's just jump in and see what we think of this one.
All right.
And here we go. Have you ever had an incredibly unexceptional day? You know, you wake up feeling blah, you go to work, it sucks, and then you come back home just to scroll through your ex's social media pages, realizing you were actually the one holding them back?
What have I become?
There's no shame in any of this. These kinds of days totally happen. For any type of podcast or movie, you usually just hear stories about really good days, or really bad ones. That's why stories are told. You never hear someone come up to a coworker and say, "Yo, Steve, I totally watched the 3rd season of The Office for the 2nd time this week, and then I stared at the ceiling until I fell asleep." Sure, that may have been what happened, but we don't brag about these basic days. The made-up character in this scenario should have kept his pathetic life to himself and bombarded his coworker with conversations about politics instead. I didn't win the lottery, fucking president. That's what the people really want. For me, the typical run-of-the-mill day has always intrigued me. We've talked about it before, how you can go somewhere and completely forget the drive you just made. But how about the experience with an entire day? I'm sure if you're stressed out enough, you can feel that way about a whole week. For me, I feel like I am a bit more susceptible to these situations than others. My recent work in therapy has really shown me how I spend so much time living in my head. I'm always processing and planning that I'm not fully present in much that I do. Because of this, it makes me terrible at keeping track of time and being aware of the pleasures that this life has to bring. This way of living can unfairly feel like most days are ordinary, when really, I'm just not present enough to see the good things. Whether you're like me or not, regular ordinary days happen. They can't all be bangers, and they can't all be as tragic as the day you had to put your pet goldfish down. With today's entertainment and social media, we are only seeing the best days and the most impactful stories. They don't make Netflix documentaries about a guy who got off work 2 hours early and used his free time to go to the DMV.
Next.
We have stories about scam artists, life-changing inventors, and cult leaders. But just because our society spotlights the big stories doesn't mean regular days don't exist. Today, I'm going to give you all a very standard day in the life of a cop because, well, I think you all have been spoiled with grandiose narratives for a little too long. It's time we learn that not all stories are inspiring comedies or heavy-hearted tragedies. Sometimes, you simply just have a day. Tom Thursday was a mean cop on the mean streets of Maryland. He had a hazy backstory, an identity crisis that would show its face once every few weeks, and a prostate the size of a Cornish game hen. He was the prototypical main character of a standard network cop drama.
Let's go!
Every workday for Tom was a perfectly paced, serialized account of a different, amazing story. On Monday, he would save a toddler that accidentally crawled to the top of a building being built. Tuesday, he foiled an assassination attempt on famous children's entertainer Gilly Gumdrops.
Everybody, get down!
And Wednesday, he stopped a serial stalker who had ties to his own mysterious past.
Dad?
I don't think you all need any more examples. This dude is a badass, and every day is noteworthy. However, on a particular May morning in 2023, Tom woke up feeling like his story was missing a narrative. He rolled over to turn off his alarm, expecting to be bombarded with a flashback from his past, but nothing happened. He didn't even have the same high-anxiety sense of urgency that he usually wakes up with. Actually, he felt pretty good. The rest of the day went on with Tom looking for plot devices and MacGuffins to push his day's story forward. But each time he came across a possible interesting development, it was always a lame false alarm.
Damn it!
What is this, some kind of writer's strike? Tom said to himself, breaking the fourth wall and also making a very topical reference for the time this episode was recorded. Preparing to walk into the Charles County Police Department, Tom welcomed the chaos that was about to consume him. Every day, he opens the doors to his work, only to be greeted with blaring phones, screaming perps, and the smell of blood in the air. But as he pulled the handle of the front door, he did not experience the insanity that he knew and called his home. "Oh, hey, Tom," the annoying-ass new guy Marty said. "Looks like it's just you, me, and a slow day at work, huh? You can split my gluten-free bran muffin with me if you want." Tom immediately changed his mind, turning around and leaving Marty behind. "If trouble won't find me, I guess I'll have to find it myself," Tom said, as he jumped in his car and began to patrol. It took no time for Tom to find someone to be suspicious of, as he drove past the business building of arbitrary business companies and company offices. 2 Hyundai cars minding their business, huh? Sounds suspicious enough. As Tom began to type the license plate numbers into his cute little cop car computer, he saw the drivers get in and drive off. But just as they began to pull away, his cute little computer gave a startling alert.
Stolen vehicle. Bad guy detected.
Tom threw the police sirens on and pulled onto the road, but it was too late. He was no match for the power of Hyundai. They were nowhere to be seen. As Tom hung his head in shame, he pulled off into a vacant parking lot to wallow in his sad thoughts. He stared deep into his dashboard and tried to process all of the emotions that came with this very ordinary and boring day. But just as he was considering sleeping in the back seat until his shift was over, a voice began to speak to him. "Hey Tom, it's Marty. We just got a 911 call about 2 Hyundais robbing a store, and I have their location. That is, if I can read my little chicken scratches I wrote on this sticky note." Tom helped Marty decipher his handwriting while driving to a rideshare parking lot location to catch the thieves. Pulling up, he saw the 2 Hyundais and some suspicious shadows behind some trees. "Hey, I see you hiding behind those trees. Why don't you come out and get arrested for your crimes?" Tom called, using his masterful negotiation skills. "We'll come out with no further incident," one of the perpetrators said, as they approached the officer with their hands up. While Tom and his backup began arresting the 2 adults and 4 juveniles from the stolen Hyundais, he began to think back to himself. 2 stolen cars. So what? Yeah, teens were involved, but that's not all that interesting. I mean, I've saved celebrities from burning buildings, and even had a crossover with the Special Victims Unit. I guess sometimes you just have an ordinary day. In May of 2023, some cop arrested some kids for stealing a couple of cars. So what? Oh wait, there's more to the story? Well, let's get back to it. After Tom Thursday and the rest of the officers brought the troublemakers in, he began to write them up and take their information. Deshaun Whitaker, 18 years old. Vincent Alston, 21 years old. Because you are of legal age, I will be charging you both with theft, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, and rogue and vagabond. What the hell is rogue and vagabond? One of the boys yelled with a lot of sass. It's what you're getting for being a bad boy. Tom quickly clapped back. Marty took the two bad boys away, while Tom turned his sights on the 4 juveniles. Juvenile number 1, juvenile number 2, juvenile number 3, and Tammy. You 4 are being charged with theft and unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. I'm calling your guardian, and you will be sent to bed without dinner. As the juveniles cried, Tom and a faceless officer stepped out to have a cigarette. I just don't get it, Tom. I mean, am I just not attractive to her anymore? Why would she leave me for a video store clerk who's 10 years older than me? I didn't even know video stores still existed. The faceless officer asked Tom, trying to get advice on his pending divorce. Try drinking water, Tom said, not paying attention at all to his coworker. As a standard cop drama hero, he was no stranger to a messy divorce, but there was something else taking his attention away from the conversation at hand. Just up from the officers, at the main entrance to the police station, a Hyundai pulled up to drop off 3 women. How much you want to bet that's the guardian to our juveniles in there? Tom asked, cutting off the faceless officer. As the Hyundai began to drive off, Tom barked an order to the officer. You go in and take a statement from the women. I'm going to investigate this Hyundai. Tom jumped into his cop car and typed this Hyundai's information into his cute little computer.
Are you surprised? It's stolen.
Round 2, baby, Tom yelled as he peeled out in his car. With his sirens blaring, the 3rd stolen Hyundai put on their blinker and stopped at a nearby street. He looked the vehicle up and down. This one definitely was in worse shape than the first 2. The back window was busted out, and Tom could see multiple people inside. He slowly circled the vehicle and inspected. All right, all of you come out with your hands up, Tom said. But instead of the occupants exiting their vehicle, the driver put it in drive and drove forward, almost hitting Tom. The vehicle drove a short distance before stopping again. Tom approached the vehicle more cautiously as the young man driving slowly opened the door and stepped out. What's your name, bad boy? Tom yelled as he pushed the driver against the car. Anus Simpson, the boy yelled. Don't lie to me, Tom responded. I'll give you one last chance to give me your real name, or you'll get a charge for providing a false name. The young man slowly pulled his face away from the car and looked Tom Thursday directly in the eyes. I am the one they call Anus Simpson. Tom reached into the man's pocket and pulled out his wallet. Well, looks like you just got an extra charge because your license says Anthony. He handcuffed Anthony and walked him into the back of his car. Once backup arrived, Tom returned to the car and got the passengers. Inside of the car was 3 more juveniles, one being a 16-year-old boy with arrest warrants, and another being a 13-year-old girl who had been reported missing from a nearby county. Walking back into the precinct with the new batch of criminal children in tow, Tom made eye contact with one of the guardians that had recently been dropped off by the same car. What's this woman's name? Tom asked the faceless officer who was signing her in. She told me it was Melinda Scrumptious. That is your name, right? The officer asked, turning his attention to the woman. Save it, Tom interrupted. Just go ahead and give her a charge for providing a false name, and let's throw in a little bit of rogue and vagabond too for good measure. The guardian formerly known as Melinda Scrumptious dropped to her knees, not knowing that she would end up arrested too. On May 16th, 2023, Maryland police officers arrested a parental guardian for arriving at the police department in a stolen car. The whole saga began that afternoon when police spotted 2 suspicious Hyundais in front of a business. Before the officers could investigate them, calls came over the radio naming those same vehicles in a robbery. A chase ensued, ending with the driver attempting to hide in a rideshare parking lot and getting caught. police arrested 18-year-old Deshaun Whitaker and 21-year-old Vincent Alston with theft, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, and rogue and vagabond. Along with the 2 drivers were 4 juveniles, also arrested with theft and unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. With the 6 arrested youths at the station, the juvenile's guardian was called, where she would later be dropped off along with 2 of her girlfriends. As the women were dropped off, an officer found the damaged vehicle to seem suspicious, running the plates and finding that it too was stolen. Officers soon pulled the 3rd stolen Hyundai over, arresting the driver, 19-year-old Anthony Stewart, after a short foot chase. Anthony was charged with 1st and 2nd degree assault, unauthorized use of a vehicle, providing a false name to police, and he already had active warrants for his arrest. In the car with Anthony were 3 more juveniles, one being a 16-year-old boy with active warrants, and another, a 13-year-old girl who had been reported missing from another county. All 3 of these juveniles were charged with theft and unauthorized use of a vehicle. Having been dropped off by the 3rd stolen Hyundai, the parental guardian and her 2 girlfriends were also arrested, being charged with theft, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, providing a false name, and rogue and vagabond. All in all, 6 adults and 7 juveniles were arrested in the span of one day, all in connection with the 3 stolen Hyundais. Well, that was certainly our biggest crime in terms of the number of arrests. Even without the juvenile mugshots, all of the adult mugshots next to each other reminds me of the time Gal Gadot did that cover of Imagine over Zoom with all the other celebrities. I'm just not used to seeing that many criminal pictures next to each other. So if you ever feel like your day is a little too plain or ordinary, maybe you just need to take a closer look around and be more present with your surroundings. Is any day truly so ordinary that it can't be fixed? Or are you just too wrapped up in your own self to not take in the day's beauty? If you ever find yourself chronically bored with a day or unable to see the good around you, be like cop drama hero Tom Thursday and look a little closer. Had this completely made-up character not taken a closer look at what was right in front of his face, there would have been 1 more stolen Hyundai on the streets and 3 less juveniles behind bars.
So, do you think that was just their favorite type of car? Or maybe they just got so good at stealing a certain type of vehicle? Like, what was it? Why were they all the same?
You know, I wonder the same thing, and a lot of the articles said the same thing too. They're like, oh, I guess Hyundais are very popular with thieves. That's just all they kind of said. I don't know if that's just their car of choice or what. I also don't really know what the cars were. I just know that's the brand.
Yeah.
Because it really throws me off. The 3rd vehicle, the one that had the busted out back window, let out 3 women and then had a 19-year-old driving plus 3 other juveniles. So
Yeah,
that's
I'm like-
7 people that were in that car at one point.
I keep thinking to myself, why are all of these people involved? I mean, you don't need that many people to go steal cars.
Well, and also, if they all did work together to steal cars, you literally just got your entire operation arrested in one day. Like, why did you all ride together to go bust out your juvenile kids or whatever?
I know. Okay. I'm about to come up to the police station in a stolen vehicle that looks very suspicious already and get my kid out for the exact same thing that I'm doing. I'm not going to fill my whole vehicle with other kids that have warrants out for arrests and stuff like that.
Yeah, you'd think it would be like, it's not safe for you out here where I'm going.
Stay at home or go to the park or I don't know, but you don't need to be here for this.
Yeah, it sounds like they just got really cocky with their situation.
Good God.
Yeah.
I mean,
I started writing that thing and it's just so twisty and so many different things happen. And it's like, that was a hard one to put to a story.
yeah, there was a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, and maybe I probably shouldn't have did the concept I did too with how confusing the whole thing ended up being.
Oh, no, I think you're beating yourself up, Trevin. I really do.
That one was difficult.
I think it's going to come through. The only thing for me was when I was listening and you said the date at one time and I was like, oh, is this the wrap up already? And then you got me with that whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy. I was like, oh, whoa, what? Okay. Oh, no. There's a lot to this.
As a kid, I had a dream of seeing a movie where like 10 minutes into it, credits started rolling. And then they're like, psych, gotcha. And I like always wanted to do that.
Wow.
So I'm marking off the bucket list whether you liked it or not.
You got me. And check one off the list, Trevin.
Also, I really should have said this in the lead up before I even started the story was this one's very recent.
Yes, May of this year, you said. Because I was like, what was I doing around May? I had to cancel my birthday party, and I was probably just pouting somewhere. But yeah, that was very, very recent. Come on, guys. It's not like they were bored. There's lots of things to watch on TV, okay?
Yeah, like Crypto King.
For real. So I also have a story this week. I did want to share where I got the whole idea for this story, and it's pretty unexpected. Did you know, and I think this is why I got confused earlier when I was talking about the two docs, because I was talking about Netflix and HBO. Did you know on Peacock, Snoop Dogg has a show and it's called So Dumb It's Criminal?
You know, I think I did see that in passing, but I never looked into it. Is it just like a World's Dumbest Criminals, but with Snoop Dogg?
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of like a World's Dumbest Criminals mixed with ridiculousness.
Oh, I hate ridiculousness.
I hate ridiculousness too. And we're probably going to get a lot of people that are like, what? Oh, I was LOLing all over myself. No, I never did. I never thought it was funny. But the only reason I'm saying that is because of the setup of the people.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. But the format of the show.
Yeah.
It's just people watching stuff and then adding commentary.
Yeah, like I don't know how much I would watch it, but because I was trying to find a new story, I thought, wow. And it was actually a pretty funny show, and this is where I got my story today. I obviously did more research afterwards.
Right.
So here we go. We've all made excuses, some being more wicked than others. Maybe you've excused your boyfriend's bad behavior to friends because he's self-conscious about his patchy beard.
Give his patchy ass a chance.
Or perhaps you've blamed your poor work attendance on a death in the family when the only recent passing was your child's pet goldfish. I bet some of you have even used excuses to turn your pet into a therapy animal, strictly for the ability to sip wine and get pedicures together.
This is the life, John Hamm.
Regardless of your excuse of choice, they can cause some serious repercussions. Some of those leaving you with charges you can't excuse yourself out of. Emily was a charming 28-year-old woman living in Enid, Oklahoma. She seemed to be a normal, approachable, and happy person, so it was only natural that she had some twisted traits hidden behind her outward appearance. For those that really knew Emily, they understood that she could find an excuse to escape from any problem. She had excused herself from chores as a child,
My tummy hurts.
excused herself out of every high school PE class,
I pulled my ass muscle.
and had somehow managed to excuse herself from needing a job or paying rent to her current roommate.
Jobs make me depressed.
But this special skill set, filled with manipulation and overconfidence, had eventually caught up to Emily. It was all-consuming. But instead of stopping the behavior, or at least looking deeper at the root of it, Emily decided to forget about it with drugs and partying.
Look, motherfucker!
This was exactly the case early one September morning in 2020. Emily woke up groggy with a grumbly tummy. She had been raging all night and was most definitely still under the influence of many substances.
Oh my god.
As she stretched her neck, she realized she had spent the night at her new love interest house for the very first time. There he lay next to her, peacefully snoring, when Emily's stomach let out an aggressive growl. "Ah! What was that?" her lover shouted, startled by the loud sound. "Oh my goodness, I think that was your dog?" Emily suggested, suggestively. "But I don't have a dog," her lover stated, confused. "Oh, it was probably an animal outside." Emily tried to laugh it off, but she felt her stomach turning, and she knew that soon her body would expel perhaps an even louder groan. She had to get home. Now. "Well, I gotta run," Emily said as she quickly gathered her belongings. "Aw, boo thing, you can't stay," the new lover whined. "Nope, I've got a job interview, dental cleaning, gotta renew my license, and it's my best friend's due date." Emily spewed out as many excuses as possible before blowing a kiss and running to her car. She started the engine and floored it towards home. But it wasn't long before she sped past a police car without wearing her seatbelt. Sure enough, the sirens came on, urging Emily to park on the side of the road. But stopping the vehicle didn't stop the overpowering gurgles coming from Emily's gut. When the officer approached her window, she rolled it down, explaining herself, saying, "Look, officer, it's my birthday. I lost my license, and I really need to poop." She then handed the officer her medical marijuana card because it was the only ID on her. The officer then stepped away to run her information. When he returned, the officer had some bad news. "You have a couple warrants we need to look at," he said. "But I have to poop so bad. It's my birthday. It's my fucking birthday. Why won't you just let me go?" Emily pleaded with the officer, gobsmacked that none of her excuses were working on him. "Your license is suspended," the officer responded with no empathy. "I didn't know. Otherwise, I won't drive no more. But can I please go home and go poop?" But again, Emily's request went unanswered as the officer received a call.
She's got warrants in Woods County.
"Looks like you have warrants in Woods County, and they are coming to get you," the officer stated flatly in the early morning air. "No, they're not. Fuck you guys," Emily screamed as she turned on her vehicle and sped away. The car chase went on for several blocks, with Emily zooming past an elementary school, speeding through a four-way stop, and reaching speeds of 70 miles per hour in a 30-mile-per-hour zone, before finally coming to a stop. Guns drawn, multiple officers now surrounded Emily's vehicle and yelling, "Step out of the vehicle!" Emily did as she was told, with frustrated tears streaming down her face and her hands thrown up into the air. "Can I poop in your car, man?" Emily asked in defeat as she was escorted into the back of a squad car. At 9 a.m. on Tuesday morning of September 5th of 2020, 28-year-old Emily Jean Owings Sint was pulled over in Enid, Oklahoma for not wearing her seatbelt. She made excuses stating it was her birthday, she lost her license, and that she had to poop. Offering up only her medical marijuana card, the officer ran her information, finding multiple warrants. Emily fled the scene, but was ultimately stopped after a short car chase. Looking through her vehicle, officers discovered a glass meth pipe with burnt residue inside. Emily was booked on complaints of eluding, reckless driving, driving under suspension, no seatbelt, no insurance, and possession of drug paraphernalia. There were 0 reports on whether or not she made it to a toilet in time. Excuses, excuses, excuses. We all make them, but at what cost? Hopefully this story can be a good example of how not to behave in a tough situation. Because all excuses do is put off the answers that seem too real to bear. I encourage you all to be honest with yourself and face the petty criminal that you are.
That was a very abrupt ending there. You're a criminal. Goodbye.
Yeah, I was like, face it, this is what it is. Because you know what? I'm tired of hearing all these excuses, excuses, excuses. Now, before we jump in about your thoughts on the matter, the only one that wasn't an exact word for word quote was the very first thing she said to the cop. Every other thing, though, was word for word quotes, not only for her, but also for the police as well. The first thing she said was kind of like that. That was just more of like a summation to get to it.
Yeah.
But all of it was real. Oh, I really did look it up. Did she poop in the back of a squad car? Because I feel like with that much buildup, no pun intended, I feel like they would have used that as the headline, but I didn't read or hear any of that.
I'm glad you put that final line there about there was no reports about it, because that's what I want to know too. I was like, was it just an excuse or did she really have to?
And maybe she did, and maybe she barely made it to the jail toilet by the skin of her teeth. And that is kind of a weird thing to say in an article. Maybe no reporters really got up in there and got dirty with their questions.
Well, I think using the phrase skin of your teeth and toilet in the same sentence is also a weird thing to say. Who am I to judge?
Nobody reported on it, unfortunately. Oh, the other thing, I had to draw the conclusion that it wasn't her birthday either. That wasn't stated in any article that I could find either. Maybe there were some. There were quite a few, and I only read my basic chunk of them.
Right.
So maybe it was her birthday, but to me, it was just coming across as a bunch of excuses.
Yeah, it does kind of seem that way. If it really wasn't her birthday, there's a good chance that maybe her bowels weren't full either.
Yeah.
Which in a sense is better for her, but...
When I watched the actual footage, I kind of believed her that she really did have to go.
She had a poop face.
Yeah, she had a poop face. And also just like after she was caught, she didn't really need to keep making excuses. And the fact that she still said, "Can I poop in your car, man?" or whatever.
That's true.
Okay, maybe she really does, but apparently she made it. So
I wonder if that's like an Uber thing. If you shit in the cop car, they charge you for it.
oh my God, you bet they do. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
They probably already charge you just for like putting your weight on the seat.
Yep. You know they do. You know they do. Actually, we don't know, but I assume they do.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a convenience fee for cleaning.
So connections, Trevin, we're off the chart. We both talked about a dead goldfish.
Yeah, that was really weird.
In our intro.
Anybody who doesn't already listen to us regularly would be like, no, they must have no, we did not.
There is video proof of me when Trevin brought up the dead goldfish of me just being like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I thought you were like, are you kidding me? That's a serious thing. And I thought, whoa, she hated my joke. Now, and then figured it out. I talked about the DMV. You talked about driver's license renewing or something like that.
Yeah, she used that as an excuse because her license was revoked.
We both had people get pulled over, but then drive off,
away
and then
stop shortly after.
Yeah, I really brushed over mine because there was already so much going on in my story that I was like, I get it. I get that he drove off and almost hit the officer, but I almost didn't put it in the story because it's just like, there's too much.
Another thing, too, is that once they were pulled over, a lot of the people had active warrants.
Yeah, you know, that is actually something you and I don't actually have that often.
Yeah.
Very rarely do we have somebody where they say, oh, there was already a warrant for their arrest.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, the connections, we have so many. But I think the really weird thing about my gal's whole situation is that she was just going to be pulled over for not wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah.
I just put that she was kind of going fast, that she sped past him. But technically, she wasn't even going to get pulled over for speeding even. It was just the seatbelt. I mean, my God, this guy from just a seatbelt suspicion or whatever you want to call it, found meth, found this, found that. Whew.
You know, he's kind of like my cop too, how he just looked a little bit closer and found some issues.
Exactly.
Except your guy, he hit a gold mine with that.
I know.
Seatbelt, I'm going to make $15. What? Meth?
Yeah, seriously. And a car chase and all these things. Yeah, it really added up. Well, what a bizarre situation.
You know, I've always said that when you have to pee really bad, that you're a dangerous driver.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm sure if she really did have to take an old dumper.
Oh, God, could you imagine? I would say the same thing. I mean, I'd be like, listen here, dude.
Yeah.
I gotta go. Oh, God, I really hope I don't have a situation like this in my future.
That would be a nightmare for you.
Whew. So I hope everyone out there is just having the best week of their lives. And just remember, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're all doomed.
Doomed to go to the police station in a stolen vehicle.
Bye.
See ya.
thanks for listening, even if it was while you were taking a number 2.
If you're looking for good boudoir content, follow Illuminated Palette and tell them I sent you. If you want anything funny, you should probably follow us. Live Laugh Larceny at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or Threads.
And if you have ever ran from the cops and pursued in a car chase, please send us your petty crime story. livelaughlarceny@gmail.com.
And rate us better than your last visit to the DMV. Give us 5 stars, why don't you? Apple, Spotify, or Good Pods. We is. Okay, I just had to check my... I thought I saw it turn red over there when I spoke, and that scared me. Ah! Okay, that was red.
Shit.
Okay, I'm not going to get louder than that.
Please do. It was pretty funny. I just will remove it from my ear.